Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I am walking my happy butt over to the futon to check out the Netflix original, Spellbound. This is the new animated film from Skydance Studios, who was formerly with Apple. They made the film Lucky, from what I understand. Now, I haven't seen Lucky, but Netflix apparently either purchased the studio or signed a contract with them to make some new movies for them, and this is their first film from that studio. So what's the plot of this movie? Well, it tells the story of a young princess who has to go on an adventure to try to figure out how to transform her parents back to human state, because apparently an evil witch turned them into monsters. What a situation! This film is starring Rachel Zegler, John Lithgow, Jennifer Lewis, and Nathan Lane. The film is also written and directed by Vicky Jensen. So you know what? My good old friend Haku is waiting on me to get over to the futon, because you know how he is about movies. He gets really antsy when I sit back here and jibber jabber on too much. So it's time for me to get off of my lazy butt and head over to the other place to plant my lazy butt to check out Spellbound. Welcome back. Just getting done watching Spellbound, and guys, well, I kind of found this film pretty well painfully average, but there are some good things to be found. And yes, I know I'm not drinking my usual brewski when I come back from my review. It's still pretty early on in the day, so I decided I'm going to enjoy a peach knee-high, because if it's one thing I do love, it's some old-timey soda pop. Alright, so let's get into this review, shall we? Okay, now as I said, this film is very painfully average, and what I mean by that is the animation style in a lot of regards, and just the way this film flows. So the animation, it's not terrible by any means, but it's definitely just very normal CGI style animation. This film doesn't try to, break any new boundaries or move forward any in animation style. It is very normal, run-of-the-mill, something you would see. Well, even Pixar is starting to kind of develop and move their animation style into something a little bit different than just good old-fashioned CGI puppets and whatnot. And this film, it felt like more of a step backwards in animation style than it really felt like a step forward. Not that it wasn't colorful and pretty. I mean, there's some scenes in this film that were really gorgeous and really well made. But all in all, I felt like the character designs, the look of the film, and the backgrounds were really, really average. Also, there's this thing, and I didn't know if maybe this was my TV doing this, but I had to change the sound settings, because for some odd reason, it just seemed like the background music, the score for this film was like really loud, and it was actually a little bit on the irritating side, because it uses this, score as kind of a humor element, where it's almost like good old Warner Brother cartoons from back in the day, where, yeah, you're gonna have some womp 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 kind of stuff, or if it's a sentimental moment or something, the music's just very generic feeling, if you ask me. The score did not dazzle me or really surprise me in any way, shape, or form. And this film is also a musical, and maybe, I don't know, maybe because I just saw the film Wicked, but the songs in this movie were not memorable, and they seemed like we were getting way too many of them. It just, right, especially at the very beginning of the film, it's just like song after song after song after song, and you're just kind of like, oh, for the love of God, can we please get this movie moving along? That brings me to the pacing of this film. This movie is entirely too long, to be perfectly honest, for the audience it's going for, which I'm not 100% sure what the age group of this film was, which is something I'm going to tap into here in a moment. But if you're going for a younger audience, this film, it clocks in at almost 2 hours. I think it was like an hour and 50 minutes, which, is fine if you can keep the kids entertained and going, but for 30 minutes, and I do you believe it was 30 minutes, this story doesn't go anywhere. It just sits there and festers and slowly kind of gets going. And it seems like at the very beginning of the film, like this movie is going to be moving pretty quickly because, as I said in the description, there's this curse. Now, I said there was a witch that causes it. There was no witch. It was just a curse, okay? So the mom and dad are cursed into monsters, right? And the movie starts off a year after they've been cursed. She does a little song, gives you the story of what happened. Bada boom, bada bing, here we go. So you think the movie's going to take off right into the adventure because that's what this girl said. She's like, okay, I'm 15 now, so now the adventure begins. I'm getting a hold of the oracles. And then it takes 30 minutes for this adventure to begin. 30 minutes of songs and talking about her parents being monsters, blah, 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 blah. And then finally the film takes off. And I'm sorry, guys, if you're trying to attract a younger audience, this film does not move quickly enough. It does not tell its story fast enough. It doesn't keep things going. It slows down entirely too much. The other problem I have, and I know this is a children's film, but the character development in this movie is very weak. It's one of those things that just kind of happens because it happens. No reasons for these characters really to start understanding and realizing what they need to do or move on or so on in development to change their situation. It just seems like they're watching something and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I've just learned a lesson. And then they move to another scene and they see something else and they're like, I've learned another lesson. It's not necessarily character development. It's just the way things move in this film. I also have to say that, like the songs, I guess I did mention that the songs are boring and overwhelming. The film takes forever to go someplace. Now, that's not to say that there's not good things here. At the core of this film, there is a really good message. It just takes a long time to get there. And when you finally find out what the message of this film is, it really doesn't matter because by this point in time, if a kid was watching this movie, they have completely lost interest in everything that you have tried to build here because it just takes forever to get there. Then, when the movie reveals itself, you think, okay, I'm at the end. No, you totally forgot that this movie wasted 30 minutes of your time. When you think you're at the end of the film, it still has 30 more minutes to go. I mean, all in all, guys, as I said, there are good things in this film, so let's get that started, okay? So the message of this movie, which I'm not going to say what the message is because it does play very important into the plot of the film and it would be a massive spoiler. But let's just say that the film tries to deliver a very solid, good message about family and how family can change and morph into something different as you get older, or maybe not as you get older. Just families are always evolving and changing, right? Okay, so the film does a great job of having a good message. It just unfortunately does not deliver that message well. The voice acting is perfectly fine. There's a very good, experienced, seasoned cast that come into this film and do a great job. They just weren't given very good material to work with. All in all, guys, I would have to say that if I have to give you my personal opinion, well, this movie is on Netflix. This film was not in theaters, so I don't feel like you're wasting your money to see this movie, but I don't think it's going to necessarily grab any, subscribers for the service, if you know what I mean. If you guys are already members of Netflix and you're curious about this film and you want to give it a whirl, give it a shot, but my personal opinion, if you just completely skip this film and forget it even exists, I don't think it's going to affect your life a whole lot. Well, alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.